Hi, friends, this is Yana. Welcome back. Toxic family dynamics require someone to blame for all the transgressions of the narcissistic parents. Typically, one sibling is perceived as perfect or flawless, while another one is blamed for everything. These dynamics are coping mechanisms that were started by older generations and passed down until someone refuses to be part of it. Usually, the scapegoat of the family is targeted for being a truth teller, for refusing to comply with toxic family dynamics. I believe we all come into this world with our own wounds. Despite my toxic family's efforts to embarrass me, the wound of humiliation did not take hold. However, the wounds of betrayal and rejection were activated through repeated abandonment trauma. It made me self-reliant and independent early childhood, resilient and able to self-regulate, all qualities that narcissistic parents lack. They need someone to blame and take out their anger on in order to regulate their emotional state. Strong emotions such as anger and resentment are not tolerated by the toxic parent who cannot self-regulate. I was made to bottle up my emotions and then process them on my own, often using silent treatment and threats to withdraw their so-called love as punishment. Toxic parents intermittently reinforce behavior they want to see. However, scapegoats' accomplishments are not celebrated. My mom decided to skip my high school graduation, refusing to buy me cap and gown. Thankfully, when I showed up at my graduation, extras were ordered by the school, and I got to walk on my graduation day with the rest of my class. I felt like an alien in my family. My earliest memory was when I was a toddler, 1.5 years old. I was being driven to the hospital after falling on my face and getting stitches on my forehead. My fear being that doctors will be able to tell that I'm an alien and don't belong to my family. Recently, I confronted my 75-year-old mother about it, telling her that was the earliest case of parental neglect I could remember. Her response was precious. After scrambling for an answer, she used the same lame excuse as all other times. You weren't there. I couldn't even argue with her anymore after such illogical attempts to escape responsibility. I don't feel any guilt or shame about removing myself from toxic people. The blame shifting and guilt tripping will never end. You accomplish nothing by staying with people you will never see eye to eye. For me, breaking free and living an independent life away from the narcissistic family is the only right way. After 8 years of no contact with my toxic family, I realized that all that struggling paid off. I made every effort to fight for myself. They created obstacles for me, and I took the challenge. I sought help, and it came from unexpected places. betrayal, and rejection wounds center around loyalty and trust of close, significant people. Highly sensitive people have the ability to feel into the emotions of other people. In my case, I was also under the influence of a drug that made me highly suggestible. With scopolamine, unresolved childhood trauma is further pushed into unconscious. Repeated replaying of abuse, followed by amnesia, targets the same regions of the brain that were triggered in childhood. Following body's responses of fight, flight, and freeze, victims respond differently. Because my earliest abuse was in a pre-verbal phase, my automatic response is freeze and attempts to vocalize. Trauma normalized in early childhood is especially pervasive and hard to unblock. Inner child work is required to retrieve mislabeled files of abuse and correctly label them as such. Life will continue presenting triggering events until they are successfully dealt with and the charge of the event is released. That's called unwinding the event. It's a lifelong skill for someone who suffered from early childhood trauma. When abusers trigger a trauma response in their victims, they reinforce it, further complicating existing trauma, giving it their own twist. This trigger or whistle call is then repeated over and over until the victim learns to viscerally react to the trigger and fall into an automatic trance-like state, with abuser retaining all control over the emotionally overwhelmed individual. I noticed myself fall into this trance many times, with my abuser seemingly glowing with delight and myself floored in horror of my inability to verbalize my freeze response to what seemed to outsiders as an innocent comment, while I slipped into a sleep paralysis-like state, unable to move or speak. That is the danger of covert narcissistic abuse. Victims are subjected to slow indoctrination of abuser-driven responses, which turn into unconscious, knee-jerk reactions over time. I diagnosed myself as a codependent enabler to my abuser. He found nothing wrong with that. My efforts to uncover him as the abuser were dispelled by his seemingly charitable nature, supported by a network of blind followers who only see the carefully crafted public facade and never the monster behind closed doors. Cutting off toxic family members feels like you walked your whole life with cement blocks strapped to your feet, and once the weight is off, you feel weightless. Every time your inner critic starts to rear its ugly head, just remind yourself that you cut off the dead weight. Refuse to let your narcissistic family continue to live in your head rent-free. It's your act of self-preservation in the face of adversity. Let me re-emphasize, just like betrayal and rejection came from unexpected places, so does help and support pour in from unexpected places if you hold space for it. To quote Gabrielle Bernstein, the universe truly has your back. To my neglectful mother, who continues to criticize physical injuries she caused me as a child, being labeled a scapegoat and cast out by the family was the best thing that could have happened. I maintained my dignity despite insults. I have grown thick skin to repel toxicity, and I am different. I speak my truth.